And this year I started school, and I was like, man, I really want to work part-time and study full-time. The only way that I know that I can do that is if I go live abroad somewhere cheap and start my social media business again. Okay, let's pause. I actually started my social media business 2 weeks before Spirit Airlines terminated me in 2021. I didn't know they was gonna terminate me, but I knew that I didn't like that job anymore. So I knew probably something was gonna happen, or either I was gonna end up quitting, but they ended up terminating me. And 2 weeks before that, I had already built my social media business. I had the packages. I was already doing interviews with people to see like if they wanted to take me on and be my client, like, and I was getting business, so I was good if Spirit Airlines fired me, and they did, and so I was taken care of. So now this time around, I hadn't been doing social media as a business. I continued to do social media. I've been doing social media before Facebook was open to the public. It was only open to college students. So I've been doing digital marketing for some time because I wanted to learn how to take better pictures. I wanted to learn how to speak better online. So I've been teaching myself this way before digital marketing was what it is today. So I put it out there again for my social media business, and literally I prayed about it and I asked the Lord, and everything was by faith. Everything, because I didn't know. Like I ended up quitting my job, and I booked the flight. I'll go over all those details. Like, and just dipped out. And now I'm in Egypt. Okay, so let's start about that process, how that process started. Okay, so I signed up for school, get approved for school. Now I'm in school. And school is kicking my butt because I'm working full time. So when I get off of work, I don't even want to study. So I go to Airbnb again. Pause. I have not signed a lease while I was living in Florida. I am living there, but I'm living in an Airbnb and I pay weekly. So I didn't need to like break a lease or anything to dip out of the country. I just needed to make the decision to leave, and I prayed about it, and I knew that Africa was someplace that I wanted to visit it, because I haven't been on this part of the globe yet. Even Europe, I hadn't been on this side of the globe. Every place that I've traveled to, with the majority of the countries that I've traveled to solo, have been in North America and South America and Central America. So now that I am making the decision to move abroad, I go to Airbnb and I search for a 1 month time frame, and I look up the whole continent of Africa. It didn't matter. I just need to be in Africa. So I look up the whole continent of Africa, and I wanted the budget to be below $300, right? Because I didn't know how many clients were going to sign up with me, and I wanted to make sure that I'd be able to sustain myself. And $300 seemed like, if I could pay $300 in rent and, pay for food and everything, I didn't have to do excursions or anything like that because I'll be living here. So I didn't need to, live my best life. I just needed somewhere where I can eat, drink, sleep, and study with good Wi-Fi. So I put in $300 filter. So now it shows me only apartments or homes that are in Africa with $300, a $300 range or less for the entire continent of Africa. Now what popped up was some places in Kenya, some places in Morocco, and some places in Egypt. Now I knew nothing about Egypt outside of what I've read in the Bible, and what I've read in the Bible is nothing about modern Egypt today. So I knew nothing about Egypt, and what I did was I searched, and Kenya was top on my list. Like, it was top on my list. And then it was Morocco, and then it was Egypt. Anyways, I kept coming back to Hurghada, because Hurghada, I found something for like $160 something per month. And I was like, maybe I should just go to Hurghada. I don't have to get a shot. For Kenya, I believe that I had to get a malaria shot. I had to get some type of shot. I don't think it was malaria. I can't remember what it was. It was some type of shot that I had to get for Kenya. And I needed to also do all my checkups, because mind you, I needed to make sure I get all this insurance out the way, my dental, vision, all that stuff out the way. So getting that shot was the least of my concerns. On top of that, trying to move to another country. So it wasn't like a priority. So I didn't really do what I needed to do when it comes to doing that research. Anyway, so I just decided not to go to Kenya, even though I will one day. be in Kenya, God willing. So anyways, okay. So now I make the decision to come to Hurghada. That's set in stone, all off of Airbnb. So now, how do I get from Florida to Hurghada, Egypt? Okay. Since I've never been on this part of the world, I wanted to make an adventure out of it. I wanted to make a journey out of it. So what I decided to do was to find the cheapest way for me to get on this side of the country, this part of the world, because I knew once I got on this part of the world, it'd be cheaper for me to fly into Egypt. I know that. I worked for the airline industry. I've been flying enough and booking my own travels that I know once you get close to a particular country, city, it's just cheaper if you just try to fly into that place. So what I did was I put Florida, Miami, Florida, or Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and get me into Europe. So the entire continent, continent of Europe. How can I get there the cheapest way? Paris popped up. Paris popped up from Miami, Florida to Paris, France for $127. You guys, y'all already know what I did. I booked that flight. I ain't wasting no time. Okay, because what happens is, I wanted to see, once you go to Paris to Morocco, once you go to Paris to Egypt, how much does it cost? And it was still like less than like $200. I was like, and if I go from straight Miami, Florida to Egypt, it would have been like $800 to $1,100. The math is math then. Baby, book that flight to Paris and then go to Paris to Egypt. So what I did was I made the journey a little further. Since I was saving so much money on this $127.50 flight, what I wanted to do was see where else I can travel to that's around, because it's super cheap. Once you get in Europe, it's super cheap to travel to all these different places in Europe, and it's even cheaper sometimes when you go from Europe to Africa in certain countries. So what I did was, once I got to Paris, I was like, okay, what kind of travels can I do to get around to these different countries that are neighboring France, right? So I think I actually planned, this was wild. This part I don't recommend. I'm a little bit spontaneous when it comes to this. I booked my Paris flight. I booked my Paris stay when I landed in Paris. Because I was doing so much, you guys, that I just didn't even make the time to book where I was gonna stay once I got to France. I mean, it's not like I was traveling during busy season. So as soon as I landed, I paid for a France electronic SIM card, and that allowed me to go ahead and find something and book it immediately, and I was. It had like a little bit of view of the Eiffel Tower. I know a lot of people like are hit and miss with the Eiffel Tower, but the Eiffel Tower is still one of the things that I adore. Like, I don't care that it's a bland color. I don't care that they say that there's nothing else to do in France but just eat at the cafes and look at the Eiffel Tower. That Eiffel Tower is still a statement in my life, and I love it. And so that was one thing that I was excited that I was able to get to see in real life. So as soon as I landed and I got to my hotel, I can actually see it out the window. It was like this small, but I was able to see it. So getting around Paris was easy to me because I took the bus and the trains in Dallas, Texas, in Florida, where I live. So I'm used to taking public transportation and paying attention to the route on Google Maps or the iPhone maps, Apple Maps. So it's just easy for me to get around. So I was easy to get around with their train system that they had there. So I went to Paris, and then I was like, okay, I really want to go to Amsterdam. And so I saw the route to go to Amsterdam. I was like, should I fly? Should I take the bus? Like, what should I do? I saw that the bus route was only like 5 hours, and it was only $20 to get there. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I guess I'm taking the bus. So, because now I have a bag that I have to check or pay extra money for. So when you take buses, you don't have to pay extra for that. So it's literally just $20 for me. And because I didn't want nobody to sit next to me, I just went ahead and I bought 2 seats. So It was $40 for that trip, 40-ish bucks. And then from Amsterdam, I wanted to go to London because I'm so close. There's some expat people that I had met while I was living in Mexico, and I knew one of them was in London at the time. Like, she lived there, so I reached out to her, and she was like, yeah, come see me. And she was like, I'll take off work so we can do some things. And so I was able to meet up with her. So, okay, so let me pause. Amsterdam and Paris was freaking cold. And I'm from Texas, I'm from Florida, you guys. I'm not from up north in the United States. Up north in the United States, they go through real winters. Down south where I live, we don't have real winters. Like, sometimes we get snow. Sometimes it gets below 30 degrees. Sometimes. Y'all, I was so cold. I was so cold the entire time that it was almost making me miserable and not wanting to go outside. But mind you, like, it's my first time in France, it's my first time in Amsterdam. I had to force myself to go outside because I don't know when I'm going to do this again, you know. So I go ahead and I force myself to explore. I did some tours in Amsterdam. I went to go see like this big windmill place in Amsterdam, and I did a river cruise that they have out there in Amsterdam. I did some sightseeing, and then I started my plans to go to London. So I was looking up flights, I was looking up how to get from Amsterdam to London, and what popped up was this huge ferry. It's like almost a cruise ship size, small cruise ship size. So I booked that because it was only 60 something bucks, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take this, like 6 hours. I can get some content on there because, mind you, now I'm trying to grow my social media business. So part of growing your social media business, you need to show that you can do the content. So now I'm starting to invest in that. I was like, I can get a lot of content done in 6 hours, and it has Wi-Fi, so I can probably study. I didn't study though. I think I did a little bit of study, but not a lot. And so I went from Amsterdam to London on this ferry cruise, and even my friend that lives in London, she was telling me, she was like, what is this? I don't even know about this like cruise thing that you did. And so I told her about it. I was like, I didn't know either. You had told me something. She told me like some train line or something, how to get there, and I didn't even know what that was because when I was looking it up, that didn't pop up. The ferry thing did. So all of this information will be like in my blog, and then also the description, and I'll try to link this information while I'm talking, the real names of these places and the prices, so you guys can see it, because off the top of my dome, I'm not gonna remember those prices and things, and I don't want to research, like pull it up right now. But I have it written down in a notepad, so I'll share all of that as I'm talking about each place that I visited. All right, so now that I'm in London, mind you, as I'm going to these places, I'm mapping out where I'm gonna stay. So I'm doing the same thing. I go on Airbnb and I'm seeing what the price is per night, and then also I'm seeing what tours are there for me to do, because now that I'm going there, I'm at least gonna knock out a couple of tours to do and see what the prices are for those tours. So I looked up that London, I didn't do any tours because there was no need. Like, London is just a very sightseeing place, and I can just walk places, take the train to different places. Just sightseeing was enough for me in London. And I stayed in a hostel in London. I think I stayed about 5 or 6 days, probably even longer. I was able to go to church with my friend out there too, so that was amazing to be able to experience that. And I did go to church in France as well, and they were speaking French. It was amazing. So, do I speak French? No, I don't speak French. So, from London, I had already mapped out the cost to go from London to Morocco. It was cheaper for me to go from London to Morocco than the other places. So mind you, I've already mapped out my little route all the way up to going from London, Morocco to Spain, Spain to Cairo. Like, that was the cheapest route for me to go. So that's the route that I'm sticking to as of now. But I didn't plan that full route until I got to Amsterdam. So I had already planned France, and then from France, coming from Miami, Florida to Paris, France, I planned that out before I left Miami. And then once I landed in France, I didn't have any other plans on how I was actually getting to Cairo. So then I planned going from Paris, France to Amsterdam while I was in France, because I was just like, what's cheaper? And then once I got to Amsterdam, I chilled out a little bit and planned out my entire route. So now I go to London to Morocco, and Morocco has a few different cities, and from what I'm hearing they were all different, so I needed to explore them because each city is different than the other in Morocco. Morocco was going to be my first country in Africa that I've ever visited, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, I explored and really soaked in Morocco. Also, I knew nothing about Morocco. In my mind, because I'm not educated when it comes to Africa, I don't know if I thought this or just assumed this, that they would be black skinned Africans. They're not. They're not black skinned Africans. They're Moroccans, and they're more, they're gonna hate me for saying this, and I do apologize, but this is what they seem back. So they're more looking like the light skin, not Indian people, not people from India. They look like, I'm gonna show you pictures of them. This is how they look like out there. Now, mind you, there are people getting comments. We come in all different shapes and sizes. I understand that, but I'm talking about black people. They have different hair texture most of the time. So I'm talking about, they didn't look like that for the majority of Morocco. Now you're gonna hear people in the comments, they're gonna say, well, we do have those type of people here. It's not the majority, okay? It's not it's not like when I go to Kenya. It's not the majority, okay? And that's the same thing here in Egypt. They'll tell you all the time, but we do have, you know, people that look like you. We're not the majority. Hence the reason why I'm having to do my own hair, because we're not the majority here. Because if I go to Kenya, baby, they gonna have hair shops there. They're gonna have, if they don't even have hair shops, they're gonna have people that know how to do my hair and do these type of braids. And so, yeah, that's one reason I didn't know anything. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't know, because I think that if I knew, I don't think that I would have chose Morocco and Egypt to visit, because I wanted to be around black-skinned Africans. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I got to explore a part of Africa that it wouldn't have been on my list in the beginning. And now I love Morocco and I love Egypt. So I'm glad that I was ignorant to the fact of the people that actually are the majority in that country. And so I get to Morocco and I travel to few different cities. Now, what I love about Morocco is their cities, a lot of their cities are connected by this train.